Hello folks, my name is Mark and this is Why I Hate the World. How you guys doing? So this is a video about Milo Yiannopoulos, I think is how you pronounce his name. And if you haven't heard, he is a very infamous alt-right head spokesperson for the, on the alt-right, in conservative circles and on the far fringes of the alt-right. And he basically made some comments on the Drunken Peasants podcast, and that have been uncovered, and now his career is imploding. And a lot of people are trying to blame this on censorship and that kind of thing. And it's not censorship, number one. So to kind of bring everyone up to speed, so what happened is that this guy he is essentially the male version of Ann Coulter. That's kind of his business model. And what I mean by that is that like he started out as I think a blogger or something like that, and has been and he works for Breitbart now, I think, or used to. And he would basically, what he does is that he causes controversy. He goes around, he says like outlandish things that he knows are going to piss people off. And then when it pisses people off, most notably left-wing feminists and things like that, he goes out, like, he gets them riled up on purpose so that they say hateful things, and then he basically says, look at how hateful the left is. That's this guy's MO, So he'll do shit like, he'll go to a college campus and say that, all trans people are the victims of mental disorders or something like that. And then when the next time he goes to a campus that a bunch of like trans people and feminists are like protesting him, then he'll kind of come up and say, look how wacky these people are. And that's his thing. And then that gets him to, he gets to like, he gets ad revenue and gets to sell books and shit like that. So he went on Real Time with Bill Maher the other day, and that kind of catapulted him kind of into the spotlight. He was starting to become a little more mainstream, and there was a kind of a controversy there because Jeremy Scahill, who's a left-wing journalist who does pieces for things like Democracy Now!, that kind of thing, basically boycotted the show. Then he said, and I'm not going to be on the same show with this guy. And that caused kind of a big stink. And then Bill Maher actually defended Milo Yiannopoulos and said, well, if we don't have him on the show, then we can't expose him for who he is, And for the most part, I can understand both positions. I could say that, okay, well, for Jeremy Scahill, it's like, he's basically saying that me appearing on the same show with this dude legitimizes him. It's the same reason that what's his name, Neil deGrasse Tyson doesn't go. He doesn't like debate creationists, right? That kind of thing. He doesn't do it because it elevates them. What should be a fringe, it puts them on equal footing, and it's like, no, they don't deserve to be on equal footing. Right. So I can understand Jeremy Scahill's position here. It's like, no, I'm a real journalist. This guy's a fucking this guy's a fucking traffic whore. That's what he is, man. He's the human equivalent of a BuzzFeed article. Right. So I'm not going to lower myself to be on the same panel with this guy. Right. And then, Bill Maher is basically saying, well, if we never have him on, if we never hear what he says, then we'll never be able to expose him for the shit, for the hateful shit that it is. So it's like, I can see that both ways. But anyway, him being on the show, him being on Politically Incorrect with Bill Maher, put him into the spotlight, right? And it's kind of elevated him to, mainstream status, right? What was before, he was just basically an internet pundit, with a column on Breitbart. Well, now he's like, he's coming up through the ranks. So people start paying attention to what he's saying. And what happened was that people started digging through his past, seeing like, well, what's this guy all about? And about a year ago, he was on the Drunken Peasants podcast, which is the Amazing Atheist and a couple of other dudes who I don't know. But the only reason I don't really listen to it, but once in a while I'll check it out just because TJ's on there because I'm a fan of TJ. Anyway, so like he went on that, and on that podcast he made some comments basically saying that it's, you know, it should be okay for underage children to have sex with adults, you know. And I don't have the exact quote here, but it was something to the effect of, you know, it's fine for a 13-year-old boy to have sex with an older man. That's how they find themselves, and blah, 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 blah. And he thinks it's positive, and it can, you know, that's how young people discover themselves and that kind of shit. And that kind of pushed him over the edge. And now his career appears to be imploding. He apparently lost a book deal because of that. He was supposed to go talk at CPAC, I think it was, which is the conservative, you know, something or other. It's like a big conservative thing, you know, where they basically set the agenda for the entire conservative movement and have speakers, and people like Chris Christie and like usually the president will go speak at like that kind of thing. And, you know, he got canceled for that. He was going to be a headline speaker, right? And now apparently he has resigned from Breitbart, which means that, you know, in real life they probably kicked his ass out. Okay. Now, what does this all mean? All right. Well, first off, none of this is censorship, right? Because censorship is, you know, the First Amendment, right, basically protects your freedom of speech from the government, you know. It doesn't protect you from other people or like individual people or organizations, right? So, for example, if you own a news, you know, thing like Breitbart, some fake ass news thing or whatever, you know, a website, whatever. If you do that, or if you run a, say, university, that kind of thing, and you don't want to have this guy speak at your university, right, because he's controversial, it is within your free, you know, your First Amendment rights to deny him that platform, right? And the government can't make you accept him, right? The government can't force you to have him speak there, right? That's freedom of speech, right? A lot of protesters coming and protesting your thing, and then, you know, essentially using pressure to keep the venue from having you speak. That's not violating your free speech, okay? That is them expressing their free speech to influence the venue. All right, so people need to keep this kind of thing, you know, they got to remember how this shit works, all right? It's not, you know, because if it was like the police coming and stopping him, that would be a violation of free speech, okay? I have no problem with that. I have no problem at all with somebody being denied from a venue. You know, what kind of gets me is that this is how far it went before, you know, people actually started paying attention to who this fucking guy is. You know what I mean? He was on that show on the podcast, the Drunken Peasants podcast. That was like a year ago, right? So how come no one's been like, you know, for the last year, this dude's just been getting more popular, right? And it just kind of goes to show that, you know, nobody really pays attention to any of these people. You know what I mean? Nobody really knows, like, you know, no one, it doesn't become big news until you're big news. So somebody like Ann Coulter or this little, you know, Milo, whatever the fuck his name is, Yiannopoulos, whatever, you know, that's like they go around, they say all this shit, and it's just like, it doesn't fucking mean anything. All it means is, you know, give me money. That's what it is. They're doing it for the money. And, you know, make no mistake, like, if he could make more money coming at it from the left side of the political spectrum, he would, right? And so would Sean Hannity, so would Rush Limbaugh, so would fucking Dennis Prager, so would all of those guys, you know, so would Ann Coulter. If that's where the money was, that's where they would be, right? The money is in conservative talk, you know, conservative punditry. That's where the fucking money is, right? Those are the guys that, because they just have legions of fucking followers that, you know, as this case illustrates, don't really even listen to what they say. You know, people tune into this kind of thing for affirmation of what they already believe. That's why people listen to Rush Limbaugh, right? That's why people listen to, you know, Milo Yiannopoulos, right? Because he told them stuff that they already believed. And then they go And then they could turn around and say, well, hey, I'm not a bigot because I'm listening to a gay guy. You know, that's what it's all about. So anyway, but that's a subject for a different video. So, you know, I just feel like, you know, to sum up, it couldn't have happened to a nicer guy, you know. And I guess, you know, the lesson here is that eventually this shit catches up with you, you know. I have no doubt that if, like, you know, one day for whatever reason I became super popular and then I ended up on, you know, CNN or some shit, somebody would dig through all these videos and find something that I said that was really offensive and probably ruin me. I have no doubt that that would happen, right? You know, my thing is that I would probably delete all my videos before I, like, did that. But anyway, you know, but let's just, you know, let's be real here. It's like, you know, there's only so far, I guess this is good, there's only so far you can push it, even on the alt-right, you know. And, you know, to give credit to Milo, like, Yiannopoulos, I mean, he was, at least he wasn't a Nazi, all right? Like, he was, you know, he's basically an anti-feminist, right? You know, and but you would consider him alt-right. He's kind of like one of the lead spokesmen, I guess you would say, in the movement, you know. But, you know, the guy is not like a racist piece of shit or whatever, even though he's made, you know, racist comments, right? At least he's not a fucking goose stepper, you know, like Richard Spencer is or some shit like that or whatever. So, but still, at the same time, it's like, you know, he said plenty of hateful shit and he profits from it. That's his MO, that's his job, is to profit from saying hateful shit. And I'm very happy to see that there's a limit to how far that can go. You know, that he just went a little bit over the line, and it's like, I guess the line is pedophilia, right? Anyway, adios, folks.